You always hear people saying stuff about how you have to guide the viewer's eye in film. Guide their eye, you gotta do some lines to guide their eye. No one ever tells you how to do this with a fight scene. You can't use traditional methods in a fight scene. It's too fast, too frenetic, the angle changes too much, the lighting changes, characters go from one side of the screen to the other. You need something different. If you try to guide the eye using focus, my god, can you imagine using focal blur to guide someone's eye during a fight scene? There's gotta be a way though. There has to be a method of guiding the viewer's eye for fight scenes that is faster and reliable. There is a way. And it's something you've been doing whether you want to or not. It might be something making your fight scenes fantastic, or it might be that one element that's making your fights feel unclear. And what you're about to learn in this video is even more important if you're trying to film with the Hollywood method where every other shot feels like an insert close-up. Yeah, does this feel familiar? This feels familiar. We all know this Hollywood feel. So let's take a look at this fight scene from Rumble in the Bronx directed by Stanley Tong and find out why it's so clear and easy to follow. But before we do, I need to make sure we're on the same page about something. I need you to think of your screen as a football field. Now, if a football player catches the ball in his own end zone and rushes it all the way to the other end zone, how long does that take? No matter what you said, nobody here thought he starts in his end zone and then he is in the other end zone instantaneously. He pretty much teleports. Well, just like it takes time to go from one end zone to the other, it takes your eyes time to go from one end of the screen to the other. Think I'm lying? Think it's instantaneous? Try following the circle here. Did you keep up just perfectly? It's not just me recognizing that it's difficult for your eyes to move from one side to the other. This is the crux of every speed reading program out there. They've all got an exercise that's essentially this. So now that we're on the same page about how your eyes don't move from one spot on the screen to the next instantaneously, let's look at how Stanley Tong uses this as a master to make his fight scene more clear where it needs to be and less clear when he wants it to be. This is the Rumble in the Bronx supermarket fight. Let's take a look at this moment from midway through the fight. Jackie kicks the knife out of the stuntman's hand and then kicks him to the right side of the screen. Then it cuts and immediately our eyes have to travel to the left side of the screen. Then in that shot goes from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. And then finally it's the left side of the screen again. Just like the speed reading program, Stanley Tong has taken our eyes from the far left to the right to the left to the right. That takes a long time and it's tough to keep up. But there's only one thing happening here. There's a stuntman moving. He's flying over a counter and landing on the floor. That's it. Only one action. So this kind of frenetic eye movement that we have to struggle to keep up with makes it seem like the action is more frenetic than it actually is because only one thing's happening, but our eyes are doing a lot. Our eyes are doing the work of the fight scene for them. So for freneticism, maybe that's a word, maybe it's not. Who cares? For freneticism, we want our eyes to have to travel from one point to another that's far away. But for clarity, we want our eyes to have to travel as little as possible, preferably none at all. Watch, see how this exchange is pretty clear? I can easily make it less clear by moving those 2 points, by manipulating where we're looking at the end of one shot and the beginning of the next. If I make those 2 spots farther apart, the action seems more frenetic because it's more difficult for us to keep up with it.
Hey! What's up? You got a problem?
The fight starts off with Jackie looking at the hand he's about to attack, which guides our eyes mid-shot. It cuts, and our eyes have to move very little to the next focal point. Jackie's hit this hand, and when the cut happens, we want to see what's happening with him hitting that. Does the guy drop the knife or what? Hits people on the right side of the screen, hits people on the left, right, back to the left, we cut, and we're looking at Jackie's hand that he's about to hit with here. Then we have to go here. That's pretty far. It makes that hit seem pretty fast because we have to catch up with the cut. Then again, he's doing the same move and we cut here, and this is where it gets advanced. We want to find Jackie's fist at the beginning of the next shot. Before we even move our eyes to find that fist, where we were looking has been replaced with the target. It's been replaced with the bad guy's face. This is brilliant editing. It makes us look at the target without even meaning to. Then we find Jackie's fist, which isn't too far away. Pop, pop, Jackie moves to the right. We're gonna pull the camera back. Jackie is moving really fast at this point in the fight, so we want points A and B to be pretty close together so that it's easy for us to follow where we need to look. Pop, pop, pop. Then Jackie travels to the left side of the screen, turns around to the right. We're looking at Jackie's face, and this cut happens, and it's almost the same as 2 cuts ago, where we're looking at point A, and when it cuts to the next shot, that point is pretty much the target of where Jackie's gonna hit. We've replaced the out point with the target of the next shot. Now watch this. We're about to have a major camera shift that almost breaks the 180-degree rule. We're going from an over-the-shoulder shot of Angelo, the character's name, to an over-the-shoulder of Jackie throwing the punch. Jackie's fist is here on the left side of the screen. Where is it at the beginning of the next shot? The exact same spot. We don't have to move our eyes a bit to see where his fist is in the next shot. Then Angelo's got this big cartoonish look that's going to draw our focus. While we move our focus over to his face, that's naturally where the fist is going anyway. So this is the opposite of replacing the out point with the target in the next shot. This is replacing the out point with the weapon in the next shot. Now you might notice something. These points are pretty far apart compared to the rest of the fight so far. They're far apart because there's not much happening. This isn't a fast section where Jackie's gonna throw 3-4 punches at one person and then turn and throw 3 or more at somebody else. This is a slowed down spot of just 1 punch to 1 target and then he goes away. But to keep that feeling fast and frenetic, the in and out points where our eyes have to travel are farther apart, so it takes us more time to keep up with the action. But when we pull back and Jackie is about to actually do a lot of things very quickly, the in and out points are very close together. We hardly have to do any work to focus on the correct spot of the screen in the next shot. Jackie does a Brazilian hits on this guy, and at the end of the shot, he starts to do a bit more of a complicated move than just straight punching. He's only really done punching all this time in the fight. Now he's switching to grappling and manipulating the stuntman's limbs. We need these points to be close together because now that the action is really fast and it's getting more complex, we need the audience to be able to follow along as easy as possible. Otherwise, they're going to lose the complexity because they're too busy trying to play catch up, moving their eyes from one side of the screen to the next. We need them to be able to take in the complexity by removing the distance their eyes need to move from one shot to the next. Now we've got a bit of an extreme edit because we're not even seeing Jackie in this shot. So these spots are pretty close together. We get the knife, we get Anita Mui in the background, and now that we're flipping 180 degrees around, we're going to keep the focal point very close so that we can see Jackie finish this guy off and not miss that punch. If we had to move our eyes across the screen, that punch would be finished by the time our eyes got there. Notice how the last few cuts have involved turning the camera almost a full 180 degrees, so they've been keeping these points close together to make it easy for us to follow. But now there is about to be a section where only one small thing is happening at a time. It's pretty easy to follow juice being splashed into somebody's face. So we can move the points a little farther apart. Not super far, we're adjusting the audience to how far it's going to get. This part of the fight should look familiar because now we've got that full-blown speed reading section. We watch the hit. We go right, left, but in all that extreme camera movement, there's only one thing happening. There's only one hit, and then for the rest of it, it's somebody flying through the air. So the next time you edit something, especially a fight scene, pay attention to where the audience eyes are going to be at the end of a shot and where they're supposed to be at the beginning of the next one. The closer those 2 points are together, the more clarity you're going to achieve in your fight scene. Now that everybody's filming in 4K and 8K and Danny K, we've got the ability to zoom in on our footage and adjust it up and down, left and right, so that we can put these 2 focal points closer together or farther apart. This means that you have more opportunity to create clarity than anybody has in the history of filmmaking. However, keep these points in mind while you're filming, because not everything can be fixed in post. Some fight scenes are ruined in post by the editing process, and some fight scenes can't be salvaged in the editing process, and they look awful and are cut the way this is cut just because it's all the editor has to work with. If you want to see me break down the rest of this fight this way, shot by shot, bit by bit, point by point, head on over to my Patreon, where for $1 you can help me stave off homelessness for 1 more month. Maybe 1 more month. We'll find out.